Dan Bilzerian, front and center. You know, I got news for you, Dan. When you claim the Bolsheviks were Jews, 5.1% were Jewish, dude. Literally, 5.1%. And when you say Joseph Stalin was a Jew, you're full of shit. So, how do you consider the Bolsheviks some Jewish-led movement when only 5% were Jews, asshole? Seriously. Seriously. And, Dan, why don't you just admit you're a Jew hater? Seriously, pussy. You know why you're a pussy, Dan? Because you hide your Jew hatred through anti-Semitism. You're so stupid you think there's actually a Palestinian people or nation. Dan, ever read the old Bible? You know, Dan, here's how dumb you are. Here's the kind of dumb motherfucker Dan is. Dan, have you ever read the Quran? Probably not. The word Palestine is not mentioned in there one time. Why? Because there was no Palestinian nation, country, empire, kingdom. Palestine is a colonial entity. It was basically named Palestine. I keep telling you people this. It was named Palestine approximately 70 AD, right around there. After the Philistines, after the Romans kicked the Jews out of that land, our land, they decided to name it Palestine after the Philistines, which have always been our arch enemies. In fact, if you remember the story of David and Goliath, David, who eventually became the king of us Jews, he was a Jew, a Hebrew, an Israelite, and Goliath was a Palestinian. No, he wasn't a Palestinian. He was a Philistine. That's what they were called. So when the Romans kicked the Jews out of Judea, Samaria, basically they decided to name the land Palestine as a way of giving the middle finger to us Jews. And then subsequently the Roman Empire vanished, like most great empires do. Just like America is going to vanish soon too and not be an empire anymore. And then what's going to happen? It's funny how all these empires have crumbled. Every empire, the Babylonians, the Philistines, the Romans, the Greeks, seriously, every one of them. But us Jews, we're still around. Isn't that amazing? We've outlasted everybody. Now why? Why would 16 million of us be able to outlast hundreds of millions of people who have persecuted us over the years? And Dan will say, well, the Jews have been kicked out of 109 countries. What did he say, like 100 times, 1,000 times, or something? That's 10,000 times. Dan, you're fucking wrong. First of all, Dan, there were no 109 countries prior to like 100 or 200 years ago. You surely don't know your history. The only history Dan knows, the only thing Dan remembers is that he had a heart attack from taking 200 milligrams of Viagra because his limp dick couldn't get hard enough. What 35-year-old male has to take 200 milligrams of Viagra to fuck a chick? I'm 67. I don't even need that much. I don't even need Viagra to fuck a chick. But this limp dick, roided up fruitcake. You know, if I took Dan off TRT, he's like Hormaxer. He couldn't pop a boner. These are just, Dan, you know what these guys are? They're so, wait, Douglas Murray, I love you. I love my Douglas Murray. He's brilliant because he's right. Everything you accuse the Jews of, you're guilty of. Let me give you an example. Dan says that us Jews we're thieves. We're allowed to steal. Really? How come the Ten Commandments says thou shalt not steal? We're the ones that gave it to you. You know what's funny too? When people say Jesus was a Palestinian. Really? No, he wasn't. There was. Wait, that's like saying the King of England was American. Wait, how can Jesus be a Palestinian when the land he was born in wasn't even called Palestine? It's like, it's weird, man. You know, you people, you know, I'd have more respect for you motherfuckers if you just said, I hate Jews, instead of hiding. You know, a lot of you anti-Semites are just fucking pussies, literally. You hide behind this, you know, notion that, you know, I love it when they say, I like Jews, I just don't like Zionists. Well, 85% of Jews are Zionists, so basically you don't like 85% of us Jews. And then it's funny too, it's like, you know, Dan says, they've been kicked out of 109 countries, which is bullshit. We've been kicked out. So, okay, but wait, on one hand he's saying we've been kicked out of all these countries, which is bullshit, but let's say it's true. But then on the other hand, he speaks out of his dirt sheet and says he doesn't believe that Israel should be a state or a country. Okay, so if Israel shouldn't be a state or country, and you don't want us living in your country, what are you saying, Dan? You want to annihilate all the Jews like Hitler did? Or tried to do? Dude, I'm in Palm Springs. I got HKP 2000 sitting like right there next to me in my vehicle, legally of course. And it's packed, dude. I mean, I've got black Talon rounds in there, dude. Like 140 grain black Talon Winchester hollow points. So Dan, if you're such a big shot and you hate us Jews so much, leave me a comment. If you don't leave me a comment that you want to meet me and say this shit to my face, then you're a fucking pussy. I'm challenging you to a fight, motherfucker. I'm challenging. Wait. I've got 8 years Kung Fu experience, dude. I will challenge you to a fist fight. We can spar. We can box. I may not kick your ass, but you're going to be in a lot of pain, dude. Trust me. Why? Hey, you're stronger than me because I'm not jacked up on roids. But I'm crazy and you're not. You're just stupid. Or if you want to go off in the wilderness and, you know, have an old-fashioned duel, we can do that too. I don't care. See, I'm 67. So, you got a lot more life. Wait, Dan, you got a lot more life to lose than my ass does. In fact, the older I get, the more ballsy I get. Can you imagine when I'm 80 years old? And if I decide I want to whack somebody and they give me life in prison? Perfect. Dan, I don't know whether... wait, Dan, wait, it's funny. He claims us Jews are thieves. Meanwhile, his dad stole a bunch of money, owes the SEC $180 million, and hid his money overseas in bullshit fake offshore accounts. And then he gave $50 to $100 million to Dan and his brother each. So Dan is a trust fund baby. And the only reason he plays poker is because poker, I have to give you credit, Dan, it's a genius way of laundering money. What better way to launder money than to play poker? And then this fuck brags about how he won $50 million in 1 year playing poker. You gotta have shit for brains to say that, because if the IRS is listening, then if you made $50 million playing poker 1 year, maybe I should call my buddy Jim Jordan, Congressman Jordan, and see if you paid the IRS on the $50 million. If you won $50 million, your taxes on that should have been $20 million. Why do I get the feeling you didn't pay $20 million on that money? Only a dumb shit. I'll tell you why, because he's lying. He never won. Wait, you think this asshole won $50 million playing poker in 1 year? I don't think this dude's made $50 million in his life. More likely, he's lost $50 million in his lifetime. He's a bullshitter. That Bel Air home that he bragged about, he was renting that for like 60 grand a month, 80 grand a month. That's like a $200 million home. Then he goes in there and outfits it with expensive chandeliers and shit for 60 grand, a bed for 10 grand, some other bullshit. And he charges it all to his Ignite company as a business expense. And then all the whores that he's paying money to fuck and hang out with him. Because even a simp like that has to pay money to hang out with a bunch of chicks. He's not exactly Hugh Hefner. At least Hugh Hefner can put a chick in Playboy. He's got leverage over them. Dan can't do shit for them. Dan is basically just a loser. He's never accomplished shit in his life. Think about it. And that's where the Jew hatred comes from this simp. It comes from the fact that us Jews are such accomplished people, and when Dan looks in the mirror, he realizes he's not. He realizes, wait, can you imagine this muscle-bound, roided-up dude at age 35 had a heart attack because he took 200 milligrams of Viagra? I mean, I popped 100 milligrams of Cialis, which is like the same shit. I took 520 milligram tabs a few times. Not that I needed it, but when I was fucking this friends with benefit for 6 hours and I wanted to bust my name 3 times, of course I needed it. But dude, you know, you guys are such low T simps. I'm getting my blood checked next week and my T levels. Last year my T levels were naturally 717 at the age of 67. Naturally 717. I asked my doctor, should I go on TRT? He laughed at me. He goes, what do you need it for? I go, you're right, doc. I go, my cat brushes up against me in the morning and cuddles with me, and I pop a boner. See? Wait. I don't even need a chick next to me to get a hard on. My cat can brush up against my penis and I'll pop a boner. That's how fucking that's how much testosterone I have. If my cat brushes up against, if my cat spoons with me in the morning, my male cat, my dick gets hard if I'm sleeping. I think it's a chick. Seriously. That's how much tea I have. Dude, you almost hit me. That's how much tea I have in me, boys and girls. I have so much tea flowing through my system that, God, another motherfucker almost hit this dude. God, these people drive like shit. I almost saw 2 accidents. Now he's going through a red light. Good job. Dude, listen, I've got so much high testosterone flowing through my penis that literally every morning, or at least every other morning, I'm waking up as if I'm 18. And I feel like I got a piece of rebar steel between my legs. I mean, my 6.5-inch thick penis is like rock hard. It's like fucking steel. When I try to take a piss and I got a hard on, it's impossible to pee. I almost have to jerk off just to get. I either have to take a cold shower or whack off to get it to go down. It's so fucking hard. And see, Dan, he can't even get a boner. He's just like Ormaxer. Ormaxer's another one. Without the TRT, these dudes who are 45, 35, 50, they cannot get fucking boners. They cannot produce a hard-on. And therein lies the Jew hatred. You know, if I couldn't get a boner and I wasn't Jewish, I might hate Jews too. I don't know.